Welcome back to another Bible study, and today we're going to be preparing for the third Sunday of Advent, and we have an exciting reading coming up, which is from the letter of James. James is extremely unique from all the other letters of the New Testament or all the writings because it represents and reflects Jewish wisdom literature. So in order to really appreciate James, we got to understand why he's using this type of literature and its purpose. So the Jews around the time of the Greeks, when the Greeks had their empire, the Greeks had a big influence on all the cultures of the world. And one of the influences they had was this style of writing called wisdom literature. And the Greeks were fascinated about happiness. That was the goal in life, was to be happy. They figured that the only way you could really be truly happy is that you do what you were made to do. So like, for instance, we have these two cameras here in the room, and if they had feelings, they would be happy right now because they would be fulfilled because they're being used for what they were made to do. They're not in a closet, they're not in a box, they're actually being used. And so for their purpose. And so the Greek says, well, if we live the way what we were made to do, we will ultimately be happy. So wisdom literature is an exploration on what it is to be human. What is the details? Why were we made? What is the purpose of us in life? So now the Jewish writers saw this and they really liked it, and they said, "This is really terrific." But what the Jews are going to do is they're going to upgrade it. They're going to go take it up a notch. And they're going to use wisdom literature, which is going to bring about happiness. But it's not about trying to understand human nature. Their understanding of happiness is going to be relationships. So it's how to have a good relationship was ultimately the goal. Let's go to Adam and Eve. So Adam and Eve, they have a great relationship with God, and they're in the Garden of Eden. And God says to them, He shows them that, gives them all the knowledge to be able to enjoy the garden. And so they have a great relationship with each other. But then the serpent came, and you know the story. The serpent says, you got to have this fruit from the tree of good and evil, knowledge of the good and evil. And so they took it. They took the fruit and they ate it. So what they actually did is they replaced wisdom, which is relationships with God, understanding a relationship with God, and they replaced it with the knowledge of good and wisdom. So wisdom is replaced now with knowledge. Take a look at what happens after they replaced wisdom with knowledge. The relationships broke down. They blaming one another. The woman is saying that it's the snake. The snake made me do it, and then the man's saying that it's the girl made me do it. And then you have they're hiding behind a bush when God arrives at the garden. They're trying to hide from Him. They realize that they're naked, and so what happens is the relationship is completely broken down. There seems to be no relationship left. And so the idea for Jewish wisdom literature is to get that back again, to get back wisdom where we have a strong relationship with God. So all wisdom is about having strong relationships. So now James is taking this literature, which is being used to emphasize relationships and to apply it, of course, to God in our Christian living. And so he has, so in this reading, he has the topic is patience. Now, he breaks down the letter into 12 topics, which represents the 12 tribes of Israel. And he uses each one, and he talks about patience. And so he says here, be patient, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. This is, we all think about patience, and so we could always say, oh, gee, I could be a little bit more patient. I got to work on my patience, and so this is a great virtue to have. One time I was at a wedding, and the bride was late. Well, actually, the limousine got caught in a parade, and the police officer said, "You're not going anywhere." So she texts one of the bridesmaids and says, "I'm going to be about an hour late." So I said, fine. So I was listening to the nice music, and about 45 minutes later, she comes in. I said, boy, you got here early. She says, yeah, I took a taxi. And the priest that was the pastor of the parish, because I was visiting there, he said, you're the most patient man I've ever met in my entire life. So, and we gained a friendship. I mean, this guy, a guy that I never knew before. and now we gained this a good relationship. So James is giving us points to increase our relationship with one another. This is where we're going to get. This is where we're going to be ultimately happy. We're always happy at Thanksgiving when our friends are gathered together and we're having a nice meal. Relationships make us happy, and that's what the Jewish wisdom literature wants to give us all the information that we need to cultivate these relationships with God and with one another. So enjoy the letter of James. That's the purpose, is to foster relationships. And if we keep that in mind, we'll really get a lot out of James, and we'll see that our lives are constantly getting happier and happier. Well, thank you for joining me in this video. Enjoy the next Sunday, which is a third Sunday of Advent. It's the Sunday of joy because we're anticipating the coming of our Savior in Christmas. And so I will hope to see you in the next video, the fourth Sunday of Advent.